For more than a century, the American car has meant one thing: ownership. A vehicle in the driveway was not just transportation. It was freedom, privacy, status control, and a piece of the American identity. But now, look at a Waymo Jaguar I-PACE moving through the streets of San Francisco with no human behind the wheel. It is not waiting for an owner. It is not sitting in a garage. It is not part of a 72-month loan. It is not a family asset slowly losing value in a driveway. It is working. That is the part Detroit cannot ignore. Because the Robotaxi is not just another autonomous vehicle experiment. It is a different economic animal. It turns the car from something Americans buy into something Americans summon. It turns transportation from personal property into an AI-operated service. And if that model scales through Waymo, Uber, Nvidia, Tesla, or another platform, the damage will not stop at taxi drivers. It will reach automakers, dealers, insurers, banks, parking operators, repair shops, and the entire financial machinery built around private car ownership. The Robotaxi is not coming for the driver first. It is coming for the owner. For most of modern American history, Detroit did not simply sell machines. It sold a way of life. Ford, GM, and Chrysler built their power around a simple assumption: every American household would need its own vehicle, and often more than one. The suburb, the driveway, the garage, the daily commute, the family road trip, the teenage first car. All of it reinforced the same economic structure. The car was private property. The customer was the owner. The industry was built around that owner. Tesla modernized this story with battery software, over-the-air updates, and the promise of self-driving. But even Tesla's model still depended on the same basic transaction. A person buys a car, parks it at home, ensures it maintains it, and watches it depreciate. Robotaxis challenge that foundation. Waymo proves that driverless rides can operate in real American cities. Uber and Nvidia are pushing toward a wider AI fleet model. And that is why this is not just a technology story. For Detroit, the danger is not that Robotaxis drive themselves. The danger is that they may drive the customer away from ownership. At first glance, the Waymo Jaguar I-PACE does not look like the end of an industrial era. It does not look like a machine designed to attack Ford, GM, Tesla, dealers, insurers, or the private car economy. It looks like a premium electric SUV moving quietly through traffic. And that is exactly why it matters. Because the disruption is not in the shape of the vehicle. The disruption is in what the vehicle has become. A normal Jaguar I-PACE is a car. A Waymo Jaguar I-PACE is something else. It is a rolling sensor platform, a mobile computer, a mapping machine, a data collector, and a revenue-generating asset wrapped inside the body of an electric SUV. Waymo has described its system as using cameras, radar lidar, and onboard computing to understand the road in real time. The cameras act like eyes. The radar reads distance and speed, even when visibility weakens. The lidar builds a three-dimensional picture of the world around the vehicle. The onboard computer turns that flood of information into decisions. But the most dangerous part is not the sensor tower on the roof. The most dangerous part is utilization. A privately owned car spends most of its life waiting. It waits in a driveway. It waits in a garage. It waits in an office parking lot. It waits outside a grocery store. Even an expensive vehicle often sits still for most of the day, losing value while doing nothing. A Robotaxi is designed around the opposite logic. It is built to move. It can carry one passenger, drop that passenger off, accept another ride, reposition itself, recharge, return to service, and keep working. In that model, the car is not an emotional purchase. It is an operating asset. That one change cuts straight into the economics of the American auto industry. A family car is sold once and then used inefficiently for years. A Robotaxi can be used by many people in the same day. A private vehicle depends on identity, brand loyalty, horsepower, interior trim, and the feeling of ownership. A Robotaxi fleet depends on uptime, cost per mile battery, durability, sensor reliability, cleaning speed, software performance, and regulatory approval. That is why the Waymo Jaguar I-PACE is such a powerful symbol. It does not need to look like science fiction. It does not need gull-wing doors or a radical body shape. Its threat is quieter than that. It looks normal, and still it suggests that the car may no longer need an owner to have economic value. The Jaguar I-PACE is not frightening because it looks futuristic. It is frightening because it looks normal, and still threatens to change the economics of ownership. For years, Tesla owned the imagination of the Robotaxi future. The promise was simple, powerful, and almost irresistible one day. A Tesla would not just be a car you drive. It would become an income-generating machine. You could buy it, park it in your driveway, and eventually send it out to work while you slept. That idea was not just about autonomy. It was about turning private car ownership into private fleet ownership. But reality has been harder than the vision. Selling an electric car is one kind of challenge. Deploying a Robotaxi is something else entirely. A normal EV can be delivered to a customer, insured, registered, and driven under human responsibility. A Robotaxi has to prove that it can make decisions in real traffic around pedestrians, emergency vehicles, construction zones, cyclists, bad weather, unclear lane markings, and unpredictable human behavior. And if it fails, the question is no longer just mechanical. It becomes legal, financial, political, public. That is why Tesla's Robotaxi strategy is under such intense pressure. Reuters reported that Tesla's Robotaxi rollout has been moving more slowly than expected, with Elon Musk taking a more cautious tone and emphasizing safety validation before broader deployment. Now compare that with the Uber and Nvidia approach. Uber does not need to build the car. Nvidia does not need to sell the ride. But together, they can attack the most valuable layer of the Robotaxi economy, the platform. Reuters reported that Uber and Nvidia plan to launch Robotaxis beginning in Los Angeles and San Francisco in 2027, with expansion planned across 28 global cities by 2028. The system is expected to use Nvidia's Drive Hyperion autonomous vehicle platform, an Alpamayo AI model designed for complex driving scenarios. That matters because this is not the traditional automotive model. Ford builds the truck, GM builds the SUV, Tesla builds the EV, but Uber and Nvidia are trying to build the operating layer above the vehicle itself. Uber controls the customer interface, the trip, demand, the pricing flow, the app behavior, and the relationship with riders. Nvidia controls the compute layer, the AI infrastructure, the autonomous driving platform, and potentially the brain that makes Robotaxi fleets scalable. In this model, the vehicle becomes less important than the system around it. That is a dangerous shift for automakers, because if a customer opens an app, requests a ride, steps into a driverless vehicle, and arrives safely, that customer may not care whether the vehicle was built by Ford, GM, Hyundai, Lucid, BYD, or another manufacturer. The logo on the hood becomes secondary. The platform controlling the trip becomes primary. This is where Detroit should pay attention. For 100 years, automakers controlled the customer because they sold the machine. The dealership was the gate. The brand was the emotional anchor. The owner had a relationship with the vehicle. But in a Robotaxi network, the user may have no relationship with the vehicle at all. The user has a relationship with the app, and that changes the balance of power. Tesla wants the car to become the Robotaxi. That is a vertically integrated dream car software autonomy fleet brand and customer, all inside one ecosystem. If Tesla can execute it safely and at scale, the upside is enormous. But Uber and Nvidia are making a different bet. They are betting that Robotaxi power may not belong to one car company. It may belong to the network that organizes the rides and the AI stack that makes those rides possible. One model says the vehicle is the center. The other says the network is the center. And for the American auto industry, that difference is not technical trivia. It is the difference between selling cars to owners and supplying vehicles into fleets controlled by someone else. That is why this battle is bigger than Tesla versus Uber. It is bigger than Nvidia versus legacy automakers. It is a fight over the control point of future mobility. Will the future car industry be controlled by the company that manufactures the vehicle, or by the company that controls the trip? Tesla wants the car to become the Robotaxi. Uber and Nvidia want the network to become the Robotaxi. If Robotaxis succeed, the damage will not be limited to taxi drivers or rideshare workers. That is the narrow way to understand the story. The larger threat is that Robotaxis may weaken the economic need for private car ownership in places where ownership is already expensive, inefficient, and inconvenient. That is where the industrial damage begins. The American auto industry is built on volume. Ford, GM, Toyota, Tesla, Hyundai, and every major automaker need people to keep buying vehicles. Dealers need trade-ins, financing, warranties, service visits, replacement parts, and repeat customers. Banks need auto loans. Insurers need individual policies. Parking operators need cars sitting still. Repair shops need millions of privately owned vehicles scattered across cities and suburbs. Robotaxis attack that structure from a different angle. A robotaxi fleet does not buy vehicles the way a family buys vehicles. A family may care about color, brand identity, horsepower, interior design, emotional attachment, prestige, and the feeling of control. A fleet operator cares about something colder: cost per mile, uptime, battery degradation, tire wear, sensor reliability, cleaning speed, software stability, repair, turnaround charging, logistics, and regulatory approval. That changes what kind of vehicle wins. In a personal ownership market, automakers compete for desire. In a robotaxi fleet market, they compete for utilization. The question becomes less, would you love to own this, and more, can this machine operate safely, cheaply, and continuously across thousands of paid trips? That is a brutal shift. It does not mean the Ford F-150 disappears. It does not mean the Chevrolet Silverado or Ram 1500 suddenly lose their place in rural America, construction sites, ranches, or long-distance towing. The American pickup is too deeply connected to work geography, identity, and utility to be erased by urban robotaxis. But robotaxis do not need to defeat the pickup first. They can attack the weaker target, the second car. The commuter sedan, the compact crossover parked outside an apartment, the vehicle used only for office trips, airport runs, downtown errands, and weekend convenience. The car that costs too much to insure, too much to park, too much to finance, and too much to maintain for how little it is actually used. That is where the pressure starts. If a household keeps a truck but gives up the second car, automakers still lose a sale. If young urban workers delay buying their first vehicle because robotaxi service is reliable enough, lenders lose loans. If fewer vehicles sit in garages, insurers lose policies. If fleets centralize maintenance, local repair shops lose scattered individual customers. If downtown drivers summon rides instead of parking cars, parking revenue weakens. This is not the disappearance of the car. It is the compression of ownership. Fewer personal vehicles used less emotionally replaced first in the places where car ownership has already become a financial burden. And once the consumer begins to think of transportation as access instead of ownership, the old industry loses something more valuable than a single sale. It loses habit. For Detroit, that is the real danger. Not that every American stops buying cars tomorrow, but that millions begin asking a question they were never supposed to ask. Why own the car at all? The first victim of robotaxis may not be the American pickup. It may be the second car in the American driveway. The robotaxi revolution will not arrive evenly across America. It will not hit rural Montana, downtown Los Angeles, suburban Dallas, and snowy Michigan in the same way. That is why the real question is not whether robotaxis replace every car. The real question is where they attack first. Start in San Francisco. You live in an apartment. Parking is expensive. Insurance is rising. Your car sits unused most of the week, but the monthly payment never sleeps. In that environment, a reliable robotaxi does not need to be perfect. It only needs to be cheaper, easier, and available enough to make ownership feel irrational. Now move to Los Angeles. Think about an airport run to LAX traffic pickup lanes, rideshare congestion, impatient travelers, and curbside chaos. A robotaxi fleet controlled by AI could look attractive there because the demand is constant, but the risk is just as large. One high-profile failure near an airport, one blocked emergency lane, one safety incident, and regulators would not treat robotaxis like a convenience. They would treat them like a public infrastructure threat. Then look at the suburban family. They may still keep the SUV. They may still keep the pickup for towing school runs, weekend trips, tools, sports gear, and emergencies. But the second car, the one used mainly for commuting, becomes vulnerable. If a household can replace that vehicle with on-demand autonomous rides, the auto industry does not lose the family completely, but it still loses one sale, one insurance policy, one loan, and years of service revenue. Finally, go to rural America. This is where robotaxi hype becomes weaker. Long distances, low passenger density, harsh weather, poor road markings, gravel roads, and limited charging infrastructure all make autonomy harder to scale. A rancher in Wyoming or a contractor in rural Texas is not replacing a truck with a city robotaxi network anytime soon. That is the point. Robotaxis do not need to conquer the entire country at once. They only need to take the places where car ownership is already becoming expensive, inefficient, and emotionally weaker. The deeper robotaxi story is not just autonomy. It is control. To make robotaxis work at scale, the industry needs far more than electric vehicles. It needs high-performance chips, LiDAR radar cameras, mapping systems, AI training simulation, cloud infrastructure, data centers, remote monitoring, fleet maintenance, and city-level regulation. That means the center of gravity moves away from horsepower and toward compute power. That is why Nvidia matters. If the future vehicle becomes a rolling computer that must make real-time decisions in complex traffic, then the company supplying the brain may become more powerful than the company supplying the body. Uber matters for a different reason. If riders open an app request, a trip pay through the platform, and never choose the vehicle brand, then the app owns the customer relationship. Detroit should recognize the danger in that structure, because the company that builds the car may not be the company that controls the trip. There is also the legal question no one can avoid. If a robotaxi crashes, who is responsible? The automaker, the AI software provider, the fleet operator, the sensor supplier, the mapping company, the city that approved the service. In a human-driven car, liability is already complicated. In an AI-driven fleet, it becomes an industrial battlefield. And geopolitically, robotaxis pull the auto industry into a new war over chips, AI models, data sensors, and software platforms. Ford and GM are no longer competing only with Toyota, Volkswagen, or Hyundai. They are competing with Nvidia, Alphabet, Uber, Tesla, and every company trying to control the digital layer above the vehicle. The future of mobility may not belong to whoever builds the best car. It may belong to whoever controls the intelligence moving through it. Robotaxis have not won yet. Tesla still has to prove that its robotaxi vision can scale safely beyond controlled launches and investor promises. Uber and Nvidia still have to prove that an AI fleet can operate across many cities without turning every mistake into a regulatory crisis. Waymo still has to prove that real-world driverless service can expand without becoming too expensive, too limited, or too difficult to manage. But the question facing the auto industry has already changed. It is no longer just who builds the best car. It is who controls the trip. If robotaxis succeed, the car does not disappear. The pickup does not disappear. Rural America does not suddenly abandon trucks, highways, tools, trailers, and long-distance driving. But the balance of power begins to move. It moves away from the driveway, away from the dealership, away from the steering wheel, toward the app, the fleet, the chip, the AI model, and the platform that decides when the vehicle moves. For 100 years, the American car waited in the driveway. The robotaxi does not wait. It works. And that single difference may be enough to end the age of personal ownership as we know it.